My name is Sheila Talwar, and I'm the admissions director for Epsilon Camp. And today we're going to present just an overview of the Epsilon Camp, what it is, the admissions process, and what life at camp is like. So let's get started. Epsilon Camp is going to be held this year at University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, from July 19th through August 2nd, 2020. So first, let's just talk about what Epsilon Camp is. It is a 2-week residential camp serving exceptional young mathematicians ages 7 to 11, and also their families through both a student program for the kids as well as a parent workshop. The classes are taught by university faculty. So they're all PhDs covering material that's not taught in a standard math curriculum. The counselors are undergraduate math majors. A final component of Epsilon Camp is the parent program. So the parent program is, while the kids are in class, the parents actually get together and discuss different aspects of nurturing mathematically gifted children, both academically as well as their social growth. And the parent program goes on during the classes, and parents do stay on campus with their children. And so every child who attends the camp must have a parent or guardian or close family member staying with them at camp. So it's different than a typical sleepaway camp, but it's largely because of the age group of the campers. They're quite young, 7 to 11, and it's a pretty challenging experience for the campers where they're very academically challenged, and it's helpful to have the support of their family. So we went through the dates, that the dates are July 19th through August 2nd. All families will live on campus at University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. And we have a couple options for housing. One is that we have dorm suites available where there'll be 3 to 4 rooms in a dorm suite. They're air conditioned and they have an attached bath. So a family could take one of these suites for themselves and have a private bathroom, or if they wanted to economize, they could share a suite, have 2 bedrooms for a child and their parent and 2 bedrooms for another child and their parent. Another option we have is apartment style living that does not have air conditioning, but it will have a kitchen facilities with a refrigerator, a stove, and a dishwasher that camper families can use. And those also have 4 bedrooms with a common area, and camper families can choose to share an apartment or they can choose to have one of their own. All folks staying on campus need to purchase meals at the Roaring Fork Dining Hall. And UCCS, we actually stayed there last year for Epsilon Camp. It was the same location, and they did a great job of labeling food for vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, allergen-free. All these options are clearly labeled. And so it should be, we are able to accommodate many different dietary restrictions at the dining hall. So something you may be wondering is, there's an admissions process for Epsilon Camp, and what exactly are we looking for, and why do we have an admissions process? So one thing is that we do expect the children who attend Epsilon Camp to have exceptional mathematical ability, and that is why we had to institute the admissions process, to make sure that the child is going to enjoy a camp like this. But it's not just ability that we're looking for. We're also looking for kids who are truly excited to learn math. It's definitely possible to be very good at math, but not be excited to learn about Euclidean proofs over the summer. And so this is something that we look for in the application process to make sure that the child is self-motivated, because the daily schedule does involve a lot of math. It's not a typical arts and crafts kind of camp. It's for a child who really loves math. Another thing we look at is just the personal maturity and stamina of the child, especially for the group that's 9 to 11-year-olds. They have classes that are taught by college professors and are in more of a lecture format. And so the ability to sit and listen to a lecture is a skill that we are looking for. They also, all the children need to have adequate motor skills to be able to do the different mathematical activities. And then finally, the ability to work in a group. So we are looking for children who can work with others so that they're good participants in the program and can learn from each other. In terms of the application process, there's a few main components, and I've provided a link here with all the details on how to apply. But the first thing to look at in terms of the application components is there's two kinds of tests. One is a readiness assessment, which simply tests your child on their core mathematical competencies, their ability to add, subtract, divide, multiply with ease, decimals, fractions, kind of all the basics of math. And for the 9 to 11-year-olds, we do expect them to have a working knowledge of algebra. So once you sign up to get an application, you'll be able to download that exam and take a look and see where your child is at. Now, we do not expect kids to have a perfect score on the readiness assessment. We just want to be able to see that they're familiar with all these concepts and that they can solve a lot of the problems competently and so on. But it isn't something where we're looking for a perfect score. And the main thing is kids can take as long as they want to work on this assessment, but they need to do it on their own. They should be doing it without the help of their parents. The exploration problems are much more open-ended. There isn't one right answer to the exploration problems, and it is something where the most important part is for you to show the child's mathematical thinking and for the child to show their mathematical thinking. So you should emphasize to your child that they shouldn't worry about whether they got it right or wrong. They should show our admissions team their thought process. We want to see how they think about math. And if you have any questions about this, do let me know. But again, don't worry about getting the right answer. The thing that you should work on is showing your thinking. The third thing is an IQ or achievement test report. This is to show their abilities in terms of their IQ or their mathematical abilities, and that's the option for the achievement test. So if you have a child who doesn't have as strong verbal abilities but has very strong math abilities, I might recommend to you that if you're getting them tested, to get a math achievement test rather than an IQ test, because the more important thing we're looking for is mathematical ability, and this is a measure of it for us. The next item is a math reference letter where one of the teachers, one of their either classroom teachers or math circle teachers, someone who really knows about math should write about them. And if you need ideas for this, just shoot me an email and I'll help you brainstorm on who that should be. I understand that sometimes with younger children, it can be a little more difficult because at 7, you may not have joined a math circle or may not have as close a relationship, but do let me know and I'm happy to help you figure that out. Then there's a brief parent-guardian questionnaire where you just tell us a little bit more about your child so we can get to know their personality. And then finally, we look for a non-academic reference. And this really helps us understand what the child is like in a group situation and just what their personality is like. And so we really get an idea of the whole child. Since unfortunately we can't meet each of your children, this is a great way for us to do so. So First round applications are going to be due January 10th, and then we should be able to let you know by the end of January a decision, an admissions decision. However, we will not close applications by then. If you need a little bit more time, that's fine. It just means that you may not be in that first batch of applications that we process and so on. So just to give you that overview, that the earliest you would hear from us is the end of January about admissions decisions. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me anytime. I'm on email a lot, and so I'm happy to help anytime you like. So let's go through a little bit about the curriculum of Epsilon Camp. So our youngest group is the Pythagoras group, and they're ages 7 to 8. And you can get a detailed look at the curriculum by clicking on the link there. There's a few sample topics we'll talk about for Pythagoras. It's number theory, computational mathematics, geometry, permutations and combinations. These are all examples of things we do in Pythagoras, but we do rotate it from year to year. So if a child attends when they're 7 and when they're 8, they won't repeat the exact same curriculum because we do rotate it from year to year. So it's for our youngest group. It's more hands-on. This is a little Pythagoras camper here, and they do more work with manipulatives. It's less of the standard lecture format that I was talking about earlier. It's really for that younger child who needs to move around a little bit more and so on. So that's our Pythagoras group. The next group I want to talk about is Euclid. So this is our year 1 curriculum for ages 9 to 11. So regardless of their age, if they have not attended Epsilon Camp before, students will start with Euclid. So in the Euclid group, you'll have 9-year-olds, you'll have 10-year-olds, and you may have a few 11-year-olds. But for all of them, it'll be their year 1 at Epsilon Camp, unless they attended Pythagoras in the past. So the core courses in Euclid are methods of proof and number theory. So all campers who go through Euclid will learn methods of proof and number theory and have a course in that for those 2 weeks. The other examples we have up here are just other things that that Euclideans could learn, such as Euclidean geometry, voting theory. It can also be like there was hyperbolic geometry in the past, so that can be more of an elective kind of course. But in Euclid, they will definitely learn methods of proof as well as number theory. Year 2 is called Gauss, and so this is for ages 10 to 11, and everyone in Gauss would have already completed Euclid. So Gauss sample topics, one thing that all Gauss campers do is sets and functions. So that's the core course in Gauss. The other courses are elective. So examples of those could include enumerative combinatorics, algebraic curves, visual group theory, projective geometry. Some of it is actually faculty dependent, depending on what the faculty's specialty is. But one thing we do make sure of is that whatever it is, it's something that's accessible with for this age group. So if you've completed algebra, you should be able to understand this if you fill all the other admissions requirements. So that's the same for Euclid, Gauss, Conway, etc. Conway is the final year of Epsilon Camp. So this is when you graduate, and we call this, the year 3 of the curriculum. And Conway is a lot of advanced topics. There's not one set core course for Conway. Every year it changes a bit. But at this point, they know how to do proofs. They know the basics of number theory. They know about sets and functions, and now they can build on this background. And so that's the Conway group. I've put a sample schedule here, and let me walk through this a little bit. So you can see across the top, we have the different groups. So the Pythagoras group, the Euclid group, the Gauss group, and the Conway group. And this is from 2019. So you can see that we had two Pythagoras groups, we had two Euclid groups, and we had two Gauss groups and one Conway group. And the morning starts out with breakfast. So this is what you do with your family, and you decide when you go to breakfast and so on. So it says 7 a.m., but it doesn't mean you have to be at breakfast at 7 a.m. It means that's your time, that if you want to start eating, then you can. But class actually starts at 8:30, and you sign your child in with a counselor at 8:25. Now, all these classes are going on for the morning, and you can see that at 9:50, there's a break where the kids have recess. The counselors usually organize some sports or running around, or the kids may play cards, but they take a little break to kind of get their wiggles out, and then they go back to class. Then at 11:40, they get let out for lunch. And then parents actually sign their campers out and take them to lunch for a break. Then from 11:40 to 2:25, the kids have a break. They can have lunch, they can spend time with their families. Some of the kids may work on some of the problems from that morning, or they may just take some time out to rest. And then at 2:25, they're signed back in with their counselors for class again, and then they have another block of time for classes. So usually for the older kids, for the Euclid through Conway, they'll have another class in the afternoon, they'll have a break, and then finally they'll have office hours for a little over an hour at the end. And office hours are a time where faculty can actually get together with the kids, and when the kids have questions about the math problems that they have, then they get time with the faculty and the counselors to work through them. So ideally, and there is homework for Euclid, Gauss, and Conway, they would actually get time to complete a lot of their homework during the office hours. And some kids do work on homework in the evenings, but most kids do try to complete most of it during the office hours when they have time with counselors. The Pythagoras group does not have homework. So at 5:20, there's a dinner break, and the kids actually eat dinner with their classmates. And so the counselor takes them to dinner, and some parents actually come along to help supervise dinner and so on. And then the kids are signed out by a little after 6, and they go to math stations in the evening. So you can see it's a lot of math. Math stations are a little bit more free play with math. And kids every night can choose which math station to go to. So examples of math stations would be, there's usually an origami room where they can work on origami. There's usually a Zome Tools room where they can build different mathematical structures. There's usually a game room where they can play different mathematical games. And a puzzle room, and there's also usually a quiet room where kids who either want to continue working on their homework or just need downtime, they'll stay and be able to sign it to work on that. Then in the evening, there's evening free time from 7:40 on. So the counselors are done for the day at that point, and parents are in charge of the activities. And usually we have a social committee who will help put on different activities for the kids. Excuse me. So parents are responsible for campers at that time. So lots of different things happen at that time of day, and we'll talk a little bit more about outside activities later. So next we're going to talk about the parent program, and I actually have Sarah White on the line, and she is a Epsilon parent, and she also ran the parent program this past year in 2019, and so she's going to share with us her experience as parent program coordinator and tell us a little bit more about the parent program.
Great. Thanks, Sheila. Thank you, parents, for giving me the opportunity to speak to you about the parent program. Epsilon Camp's goal is to provide a memorable experience for the campers, but its mission is also to provide support for parents and nurturing our children in their educational and social emotional needs. I think you can agree with me when I say that with our mathematically gifted children, it's often an isolating experience, and this is because they typically have a unique academic trajectory, and they have asynchronous development. And even if we have our children in gifted schools, oftentimes parents have difficulty finding a tribe, a community in which we can safely speak about our children and some of the challenges that we face. So to that end, the parent program is designed to provide that community and to provide the support that the parents need. So in the parent program, it gives the parents an opportunity to meet the faculty members and to hear about what the campers will be learning over the course of the 2 weeks. Also, we have a wide variety of guest speakers who may be there live or presenting remotely on a variety of topics that are really relevant to our children. So just to give you a flavor of what we had this past summer, we had a speaker come to the camp and talk to us about life after Epsilon. And that basically entailed her sharing with us an extensive list of summer camps covering a wide variety of subject matter, which we found really helpful. We also had Richard Russick, who is the founder of Art of Problem Solving, who spoke to us about the importance of challenging our children mathematically through problem solving. We also had Stacy Hawthorne from the Davidson Academy Online, who spoke to us about the benefits of online learning. We also had a college consultant who spoke to us about the importance of extracurriculars, how to find those meaningful extracurriculars that not only matter in college admissions, but that help develop our children in their personal growth. We also had a speaker talk to us about his amazing program called Math Academy. He works with the Pasadena Unified School District to provide those students, those particular students that attend the Math Academy, a radically accelerated math program. We also had a speaker talk to the parents about social and emotional intensities and fragilities in our children and how to help them with that. And then finally, we had a parent speaker who gave us a lovely talk about the value of studying pure mathematics. Another valuable aspect of the parent program is the roundtable discussion. And the parents are an amazing resource. And within the Epsilon community, there are so many parents that can relate and share similar experiences. And it's a great opportunity to share and learn from each other. So a typical topics for these roundtable discussions include math resources, math online courses and books, and extracurricular activities such as math circles. We often also talk about homeschooling and alternative schooling, as this is an option that we often have to face with our children. We talk about executive function, because this is also a weakness typically in our children, and those we find very helpful. This past summer, we also had a discussion on brick and mortar school advocacy. And the great thing about having parents with children and campers with the ranges of ages 7 to 12 is that we have parents who are just starting the advocacy process with their schools, and parents who have been there, done that experience, that can share. So many parents found that very helpful as well. And then lastly, we also had a discussion on finding math tutors and mentors for children. So lastly, the parent program is designed so that, you are more than welcome to attend these sessions and work remotely. We have good Wi-Fi signal in the meeting rooms. They are scheduled such that you would drop your children off for their program, and then you would come to the sessions. And for those parents who are working and cannot come to the actual meeting room, we try our best to take notes so that we can still share our resources with them. And the guest speakers' presentations were also recorded and available remotely for those parents who were not at camp. And I just wanted to end this by giving you a bit of a personal experience. As a parent, I found these parent programs immensely beneficial, not just from the wisdom and wisdom that I gained from speaking to other parents and from these roundtable discussions, but I also met some amazing parents that I have created strong friendships with, that I stay in contact with regularly, that help support each other throughout the year. And it's been immensely helpful for our family. And as a major introvert, because I'm a very introverted person, I have to admit that the first year I was a bit nervous about the idea of spending 2 weeks on campus with, a bunch of other parents. But by the second year, I was finding myself looking forward to seeing the same parents, to looking forward to meeting new ones. It was that helpful for me. So, I hope I've given you an idea and a flavor of what the parent program is like. And if you have any specific questions, please feel free to type them up, and hopefully I can address those later on.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay. So we had some questions about siblings, so we put in a slide about them. So siblings are welcome at the parent program. So if they want to draw or read while the parents are listening at the parent program, they are welcome to. But some parents do put the siblings into summer camps. And so we usually provide a couple links to options in the Colorado Springs area or 4 different summer camps. It's just coordinating the schedules that you have to figure out. And there are some parents who may look on care.com to find a sitter if they want to attend the parent program without their child in tow. But siblings and other family members are definitely welcome. So some families make it a family affair and the entire family comes. Others, it'll just be one parent, one child. Sometimes it'll be a parent with 2 kids. There's lots of different combinations, and everybody is welcome. It's a family camp. So what is life at camp like outside of the curriculum? So one thing is, in the evenings after math stations, there are usually a bunch of parent organized activities. And so the social committee will often plan different things like board game nights, ice cream socials. There's been a Magic the Gathering tournament in the past, ultimate frisbee, soccer. So plenty of options for kids to get together and play. And they make just wonderful, wonderful friends at Epsilon Camp. And definitely those evenings are something that all the kids look forward to for a lot of fun. At UCCS specifically, they have a great recreation center. So they've got this big swimming pool with a lazy river and a water slide. In that same center, there's a rock climbing wall. There's strength and cardio equipment for the adults that they're allowed on. There's basketball courts, there's foosball and table tennis. So plenty of options, and often during the lunch break, a lot of the kids would end up congregating there last summer, and they had tons of fun and were able to get some of their energy out by running around between classes. I think that's one nice thing about the long afternoon break from, say 11:40 to 2:25. It does give them time not only to eat, but also to exercise and to, or just have some downtime with their parent, depending on how their day is going. So one thing I wanted to talk about was just the overall schedule. So most parents arrive, all families arrive on Sunday. So that would be Sunday, July 19th. And then the kids will have classes Monday through Friday of that week. Then Saturday and Sunday are completely free. There are no scheduled activities on Saturday and Sunday. However, the camp director usually does organize some optional field trips for those days. And for additional fees, you can sign up for those. Transportation is usually included, and people can go. So for instance, last year it was whitewater rafting as well as a Renaissance fair. Those were the two activities that people could sign up for and go to, and they had a lot of fun. So you can see a few pictures here of those activities. Another option is just to explore Colorado Springs. Colorado is beautiful during the summer, and Garden of the Gods is a short car ride away. That's like this big rock formation. It's really lovely to just walk around and see. There's the Manitou Incline, which is a very rigorous stair climb. Pikes Peak, the United States Air Force Academy, the Olympic Training Center. So plenty of options, plenty of things to do over the weekend. And by the end of that first week, the kids usually have some friends, and so you'll actually most likely find that your kids will be dictating to you what you'll be doing that weekend, because they'll want to do something with their new friends and have a whole day out with them. So then the following week, there's actually class Monday through Saturday, and then on Saturday in the evening, there's a graduation ceremony, and then on that final Sunday, everybody leaves first thing in the morning or sometime that day, but there's no scheduled activities that following Sunday. So overall, there's 11 days of instructions, 5 days the first week, and then 6 days the following week. But that kind of gives you an idea of the overall schedule and when you would have free time and when you wouldn't. So we're going to just open it up to Q&A. So feel free to type in your questions, in the Q&A box that you should be able to see. And I had a lot of questions actually that people sent me ahead of time. So I'm going to start going through those, and if more questions come in, I will let you know. Okay, so first question, someone asked, what is the lowest level math required for a positive experience at Epsilon Camp? So for Pythagoras, it's we do expect kids to be advanced in math, but they do not need to know algebra. And so you can imagine that they would be kind of at a pre-algebra level of math is what would be expected there. For Euclid, which is ages 9 and up, they must be comfortable with algebra. And if, there will be cases where you might say, well, my child has completed algebra and they've completed geometry. And so would they be placed in a more advanced level? The kinds of subjects we cover at Epsilon Camp are not part of the standard math curriculum. So unless your child has been studying Euclidean proofs, methods of proof before and done a lot of number theory, it's unlikely that they would have covered our Euclid curriculum. But if you do have concerns about it, you should definitely let me know. And we can talk about whether that year 1 curriculum is the right fit for your child. But just them having learned geometry doesn't mean that they would be beyond Euclid. So that's in terms of the minimum. A question I have that I'm going to turn over to Sarah is, do most parents participate in the parents program, or do they work?
I think the majority of parents do, and just from the feedback that I've gotten, and just as a parent myself, most people do participate. We do definitely have parents who are struggling, juggling with work, and they're back there and they've got work on one screen and then kind of have their ear on the other. And that is certainly happening and is welcome. And like I said, last camp, what we did was we, gave the ability for those students, for those parents who physically could not be there, to basically listen in on the presentation if they were interested in. But I think the important part about these sessions is that people participate, and we have so much to give and to share. So I find that, yes, many of the parents are there and they're participating 100%, but there certainly is a good subset of parents who are working as well. And we do have parents who come in for 1 week and they're both working parents. So we'll have one parent who comes in and then they will do a swap with the other parent so that both parents can experience Epsilon but not have to take the 2 weeks off. So I find that that's quite a regular occurrence as well.
Great, thank you, Sarah. So the next question I have is about the exploration problems. Someone asked, how are exploration problems evaluated? Is there a set process? So there is not like a matrix or anything like that we use to evaluate the exploration problems. This is really a way for our team to get to know the child mathematically, to see their thinking. And so we're looking for creativity, we're looking for their thought process. There's not a point system. It is professionally graded by professional mathematicians who have PhDs. They're looking at it to see the child's mathematical talent and creativity. And so if you give any guidance to your child on the exploration problems, it's definitely not how to do it. You should not be working with your child on the exploration problems. They need to do it themselves, but tell them to write down everything they're thinking. And even if they reached a dead end when they went that way, it's actually better for them to express that mathematical thinking to us so we can see what they were thinking about. The less they have on the page, actually, the harder it is for us to actually see what the kid is about mathematically. So do have a focus on that, but that's the exploration problems. And again, don't worry about getting the right answer. Just focus on getting your thinking down, and we're interested to see it. And actually, there's a related question on that is for the readiness assessment. I saw this just come in. Can my child study for the readiness assessment? It's been a while since his algebra class. Yes, that is okay. If he's already completed algebra and he needs to go back and review, that's fine. I know that there's one problem on there that involves the long division algorithm for polynomials, and a lot of people, I definitely had to brush up on it before looking at that question and so on. So yes, it's okay to have to review. But they should do the problem themselves. You should not be helping them. But if they need to go back and look in a book to remember how to do such a problem, it is okay to kind of study that way. Another question we had, camp alumni, where are they now? So this camp began in 2011. So now we have kids who are kind of getting out of high school and getting into college and so on. So after Epsilon Camp, many of them do go on to other summer math programs, such as MathPath, Promise, Canada USA Math Camp, and other math programs in middle and high school. In terms of universities, there's a mix of state schools and elite schools that these children are attending, and well, now they're adults. They're not all math majors. Many of them are engineering and physics majors, so in the science field, and quite a few are seriously interested in music. So there's we've seen a lot of Epsilon campers who are maybe doing a minor in music or doing something quite significant in music. So there seems to be a correlation there. Some of these kids entered college early. We do know of quite a few examples of that, but some of them also just stayed in the usual high school curriculum and graduated at 18 and so on. So that's a mix. Not uncommon for this group is many turn to homeschooling at some point in their child's academic career. Maybe not for the entire time, but because of this thirst for math and other academic topics, some of them did end up turning to homeschooling. Not all, but it's not an uncommon thing with Epsilon kids. A final thing is we had many national merit finalists and semifinalists, and you could imagine, they've done quite well going on. But so that's the answer to that. Is like, I can't say that there's one set path for an Epsilon Camp alumni, but I do think that there were those common threads of kind of ending up STEM fields, music, et cetera. I think those were some of the themes we heard from Epsilon Camp alumni. Another question we've got is, how many students are typically at Epsilon Camp and how many are girls? So there's usually anywhere from 70 to 85 children each year at camp, split up in those different groups. And there are usually 20 to 25 girls. And I'm going to flip it over to Sarah right now, since she has a daughter who attended Epsilon Camp for 4 years, and she can tell you a little bit more about a girl's experience at Epsilon Camp.
Thanks, Sheila. Yeah, it's been an amazing experience for my daughter, Chloe. She started Epsilon when she was 8 years old, so she was in the second year of Pythagoras group. And I will be quite frank in saying I wasn't quite sure if this camp would be a good fit for my daughter, simply because, sometimes girls project their math passion a little bit differently. She was certainly passionate. Once I saw her working those exploration problems, I could see the enthusiasm in which she approached them, and that was very great to see. But once we got to camp and she was able to see so many girls at camp, it was an amazing experience, because back at home, she had such difficulty finding girls that were as equally as passionate about math. So to be at camp with these girls was a good experience for her. And I find typically, and of course it's kind of a generalization, but I find it to be true that with girls, they like to work in sort of a collaborative environment. And Epsilon Camp that's part of their value, right? Is to provide that collaborative environment for these campers. So the girls are not only working collaboratively together, but not just with girls, but with boys as well. So it's a really intimate, very respectful environment in which the kids are working together. And another thing that was inspirational for Chloe was to have the one-on-one experience with female mathematicians and counselors, and she found that to be incredibly inspiring. It was bittersweet last year when we had, when she graduated the program, but it was so wonderful to see her go through those years with her fellow girl classmates, and to go through that mathematical journey together. And I couldn't ask for anything better than that, because like I said, that was something that was definitely missing from my daughter back at home. Epsilon Camp was the thing that she looked forward to for the entire year, because she was at a place where she felt safe. She the kids were there, they got her jokes, and they shared a singular passion together, which was mathematics. So she had a wonderful experience.
Thank you. So going on with the Q&A, another question that someone had was, given that campers are placed into groups, are they able to receive individualized attention as to their strengths and weaknesses? So definitely, one of the reasons we have office hours is for that time where kids can get the help that they need, ask specific questions. And as I mentioned before, the counselors are math majors. And so the counselors don't just serve as kind of like a corralling mechanism, although they do that, but also they can actually help the children with the math, as well as the faculty is there to help them with their math. So I do think that every child, if they're having any problems, there's going to be a faculty member or counselor who's able to support them and get the help they need, because every kid is a little bit different in terms of what background they bring. And so they are going to, everyone needs help at different times at Epsilon Camp. Someone asked if there's daily homework assigned to the campers. And as I mentioned before, Euclid, Gauss, and Conway, they all have homework. Hopefully most of it can be completed during office hours. Some kids do work beyond that, but most of it can be done during the office hours time frame. Pythagoras students are not assigned homework. Another question. My child plays a musical instrument. Are campers permitted to practice in their dorm rooms? And if not, is there a private place to practice? So as long as it's in during daytime hours, children can practice in their dorm room. So probably during the long lunch break would be a good time. As you get later into the evening, that would be frowned on, just you wouldn't want to keep people awake with it, but it is possible. If your student would like to practice the piano, we can work with the university to get access to a piano for your child and so on. So you would just need to contact the camp director and we would work that out. Another question is, are vegetarian and vegan meals available? What about special dietary restrictions? So that's something that is definitely possible at UCCS. They label all their food very clearly in the cafeteria, and we should be able to accommodate all dietary restrictions. If you're worried about it, do email me and I'll get in touch with the camp director to make sure that we're able to accommodate whatever dietary needs you have, because we want to make sure that everyone's happy and healthy and eating the food that they need to eat while at camp. Okay, we have some more questions coming in on the Q&A. So here's one. How important is the math circle or math teacher recommendation for the younger 7 to 8 year age group? So this is pretty common amongst that group because they often have not been able to participate in a math program outside of school yet, because often the math programs are for older, more like middle school kids and so on. So this is not uncommon. I would say that the times that I find it the most helpful for that group is if the other parts are not as strong. So if their readiness assessment and exploration problems are very strong, then I'm not as worried if a classroom teacher is giving the math recommendation. But so I would say it's not the most important part of the application process. If all the other things are strong, then it should be fine. So if you have specific questions, do feel free to email me. Like if you're thinking about, one teacher versus another, I'm happy to help you figure out who might be a better fit. Let's see. This is a question actually related to that, is how selective is the process for the 7 to 8 range acceptance rate? So we don't publish our acceptance rate. But I will tell you this about the application process. If your child goes through the application process and does the readiness assessment and does the exploration problems and is enjoying it, there is a very good chance that they are a good fit for Epsilon Camp. And it's one of the reasons we have the application process, because we want kids who actually really enjoy thinking hard about math problems and doing them, and so on. So I think that is the best gauge, is go through the application process and see how it fits. And if it fits your kid, I think there's a pretty good chance that that they will be accepted and so on. And of course, there's no guarantee because that can be one perception versus another and so on. But I would say that's the biggest gauge, is whether they're enjoying engaging with these problems. Then it seems like that would be a good fit for Epsilon. This is a question for Sarah. Does the parent program last the entire day, or is there free time for the parents during the day while the kids are in classes?
That's a really good question. So the parent program runs in the morning and in the afternoon, and it's matched up so that you have the time after you drop off your camper to come to the sessions. However, last camp, what I did was I freed up a couple of days in the afternoon, just because by the second week, the parents tend to get a little bit tired. And I also wanted to give the parents opportunities to make connections, to run some errands. So I would say that for the majority of the time, there are sessions in the mornings and the afternoons. But for parents who have been there multiple years, for example, if you're going there as a third-year camper parent, parents may come to, let's say, the homeschooling session to share their resources, but they may be also at a point where they need to just have some alone time or to, get off campus with another parent. So yes, the schedule is constructed such that you can select which ones you want to go to, although I find that most of the parents do. But you're welcome to attend the ones that are relevant to you and your family. So like I said, this may change with the next summer's program, but generally they do run morning and afternoon, with some afternoons being free.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Another question just came in. Is a 145 plus IQ test result a requirement for the 7 to 8 year old group? So this is a requirement across the board. If your child is very, very close to that, feel free to put in those results, and we'll look at the rest of the application to see if they are a fit. And also, IQ test is one option for that result. It can also be an achievement test. And so definitely contact me if this is an issue for you, and I can take a look at your specific situation and we can talk through it and so on. So if this is a blocker for you, feel free to contact me, but it is a, one of our requirements for 7 to 8 year olds as well as 9+. Okay, we're actually, we've gotten through all of our questions. So I'm just, okay, actually we got another one. How recent do you need the IQ testing to be? So ideally it would be in the past 2 to 3 years, and with children this young, usually that isn't a problem. If it's older, do feel free to submit it, and I will take a look at it, and if I have concerns, I will let you know. But we do not have like a hard and fast rule. I'm just telling you, ideally it would be relatively recent in the last 2 to 3 years. If it's older, just contact me. Let me see if we've got any more. I think that's all. So thank you so much for attending. This was an experiment for us to try this webinar and hopefully educate and have you guys learn a bunch about Epsilon Camp all within about an hour. And I think we did that since it's 3:23 here on the West Coast. Just to kind of, if you have any questions, do feel free to just email me anytime. I will get you the answer. I'm also, my son has attended Epsilon Camp for the past 3 summers. He'll be there again in 2020. So I'm a parent too. And so feel free to contact me if you have any questions just about camp life, any concerns you've got. And I'm really happy to answer and to help you through the process. And so okay, actually we got another one. Is there a way to find out which faculty are teaching which classes? So we do have a faculty page, and we already do have, I think, about 4 instructors who are signed up for next summer. We do not determine which faculty is teaching which class until the spring, once we have our full faculty lineup. So we can't tell you right now. And even that, if it is not the way we've usually run to publicly announce which faculty are teaching which classes, because there's some amount of shuffling that goes on in the summertime as we're trying to place kids in different classes and so on. So we wouldn't want you to make your decision based on having a specific faculty member. You should just assume that everyone we have is going to be great, and they really are great faculty who really love working with kids, and many of them come back year after year. So let's see. I think that's it. So thank you so much. Here's the link to apply, and I'm going to post this video as well as the slide deck on our website so that you can download the slide deck and follow the links, or listen to the video again to get your questions answered. So I appreciate your time for all of you guys who are out there listening, and I'm looking forward to seeing your applications and learning about your wonderful children. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.